Getting fast is one thing, but staying fast is another. We at SpeedCurve believe strongly that you should integrate performance into any type of CI process that you have. Now, this takes some time, this takes some dedication, and it takes a little bit of understanding about a new methodology. But anything worth doing in your production environment is something that you want to hold on to in terms of those performance gains. So introducing more, even small degradations in performance can really impact your site over time. It's a pretty simple process that we talk to our customers about following, which is setting up performance budgets, which you can hear quite a bit about through our support center as well as blogs, and we'll talk about those in some videos as well. And then once you've set those budgets, you're changing code within your test environment, you're triggering those tests in your test environment, breaking the build potentially, or promoting that build into a staging or production environment where you're receiving any performance budget alerts that you have there. This makes sure that you're not pushing any of your code that's going to cause a regression in your site, as small as it might be. Before we talk about the deploy dashboard, I want to direct you over to our support center where you can learn more about integrating into a CI environment. This gives you links to the API itself and the documentation around the deploy API, as well as links to our CLI, where we've created a wrapper that simplifies the API quite a bit, as well as a Node.js API that you can use to integrate into your different build environments. Once you've done that, you can then jump over to the deploy dashboard and start to understand a little bit more about how those deploys changed before and after. If you don't want to integrate into your CI pipeline, or you don't have a CI pipeline, that's absolutely fine. You can go ahead and run these tests manually through this Test Now button, which allows you to trigger tests from within your site that you can do this comparison for. Once there, you'll see those tests show up in the drop downs here. We're comparing right now a deploy on 10/20 compared to November 9th, 11/9, and you'll get a great overview of how the site has either gotten worse or gotten better between those two different tests. You can see a visual diff here where we can see there were some slight UI changes that manifested, but then you can look at the metrics and understand at a glance how some of those common metrics are impacted, such as rendering times, your page times, Lighthouse scores, CPU times, and other things around page construction, like the total requests that you're making. Or did you introduce any changes in terms of the size of your content within that deploy? A couple other things that you want to look at. We have a compare dashboard, which is a much more comprehensive comparison between two tests that we'll talk about in another video. But you can have a quick start there and take the two tests that you've got selected in your dashboard and view them in that compare dashboard as well, for a highly effective tool for understanding at the granular level any changes that you might have introduced as part of that deploy. You can click through and do a film strip comparison to actually see how the film strips compare, or even a video comparison. If you want to go ahead and build a video and see how the previous test compared in terms of user experience to that latest test. This is a really good idea if you're doing any type of communication or performance culture within your organization, where you want to communicate performance to someone who maybe isn't as technical or maybe isn't as in the weeds or understanding any of those changes that you've made. Or if you want to tout some of those performance improvements that you've made, using these videos is a great way to do that as well. That's the deploy dashboard.